Hey friends, welcome back to Great People Interview Series, and let me have the pleasure of welcoming Rene. Hi Rene.
Hi there, Sachin. How are you?
Fantastic, thank you so much. Friends, Rene is a superpower when it comes to marketing. He has been in marketing since decades, and he will explain the various roles he's played. But I think um, if you're looking to build a career in marketing, this is a session for you. If you are already doing business and you want to scale up and you need help in marketing, well, this is probably a good pointer for you. And Rene is your man. And if you are a manufacturer in the UK, and especially in the UK, of course, if you're outside, that's not a problem. And you're thinking B2B, how do I go about marketing my manufactured product? Well, that's precisely what Rene's niche is. So, stay tuned for this fantastic knowledge session. Let's get started, Rene.
Okay, thanks. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. Been watching and admiring the work you've been doing with London School of Digital Business for some time now. Great podcast series, great to be a part of it, and delighted to be sharing, my 30-year journey. I know it doesn't look like I started 30 years ago, but it's true. At the relatively young age of 21, post university, I've been working in and around marketing for 30 years now.
Wow, that's amazing. So, let's talk about the careers in marketing from the point of view of probably the Gen Zs and those who are just getting started.
Yeah.
So, what are the different careers, and what's your advice on how do you choose a marketing career?
I mean, I've had the benefit of doing probably the three main routes. So obviously, there is getting a job within a corporate company, and there are a lot of advantages to doing that, and picking up good habits from businesses that are well resourced and give you the opportunity and the flexibility to learn a craft like marketing, and also and give you the budget and the resource to be able to deploy it. And potentially see some movement and some promotion from, being a first entry level sort of postgraduate into managing, into directing, and potentially running departments and teams. So that's obviously the first route, and I would probably recommend that everybody gets some of that experience under their belt first. From there, then there's opportunities in what we call agency side. So if you're watching this, you'll have probably heard of some of the bigger agencies in the world, like Ogilvy and McCann Erickson and people like that. So what agencies do is they are an outsourced service that work with their client companies who maybe don't have the in-house expertise, whether it's design, marketing, brand, digital people, or they don't want to invest in that. They want to have a crack team do that for them, and they'll pay very good rates for the delivery of those projects. So working in the agency side can be very, very effective career choice as well. You get a lot of versatility and a lot of flexibility there. So you might be working with a number of client companies at any one time, rather than if you're employed by a company, obviously you're working with one set of products and services. So if you're somebody that likes flexibility and versatility and jumping from one thing to another, then working in an agency could be a very, very nice career. And then obviously if you've done one or both of those routes, I've had the benefit of spending time on both sides of that fence, if you like. You can work for yourself. It can be a challenge to get off the ground, which is why it's probably beneficial to have built some kind of credibility up before you do that. I waited 20 years. I wouldn't necessarily recommend people watching this video to wait 20 years to go and work for themselves. You can do it a lot easier these days. Obviously, we have social media, we have YouTube, we have amazing technology. We've got AI coming to the fore that can literally help us code products and platforms relatively easily. So the barrier to entry is actually really low, but the challenge comes from actually having credibility and experience to draw on, and the best way to do that is to, if you're going to go and attract your own clients, is to be able to talk about clients that you've already worked with and delivered successful results for. So they're probably the three different career routes, I would say.
Amazing, amazing. And now moving on to those entrepreneurs who, well, their domain expertise may not be marketing, but because they are entrepreneurs, they're having to do anything and everything themselves.
Sure.
What would be the core ingredient of marketing that can help? I mean, those kind of insights that can help them, probably solve why they're not getting their sales through. Because many of the times people have fantastic knowledge of what they're trying to do, but they're not able to sell it.
Yeah. I think it's a great question. Often people will go out and work for themselves or take an entrepreneurial approach where they want to start a business or create a product based on maybe a negative experience they had while working for a company or working for clients, so they can see that there's a better way to do something or a better product specification that they might be able to bring to market. So normally, people, when you talk to entrepreneurs who start businesses and create products and services, it's born out of frustration that they've had experiences where, it wasn't easy to do this sort of thing and they didn't have the freedom to do X, Y, Z. So, they kind of sack their boss and go and do their own thing. In that context, you're quite right. So as working in the kind of technology and online space, you can go and get funding, you can get angels, you can get all kinds of support and all kinds of funding and things like that, which is great. What I think is probably the most important thing is, but by all means, create a brand, create a website or an app or however you're going to deliver this thing to market, figure out the product USPs and how you're going to fulfill orders. And if it's a physical product, then you've got to think about making it, stocking it, shipping it, dealing with returns and things like that, dealing with things when inevitably they will go wrong or people want to return stuff. So there's a lot to think about in terms of process. But I think fundamentally from a marketing and promotion side, I think if you're going to set up a business or have any designs on working for yourself, I think you need to probably promote two things. The first thing is the business and everything around that and the product and the service. And the second thing is you as the founder. And what we're seeing now with social media and the rise of AI and all the great online platforms, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, whatever, is there's never been a better time to build this thing we're calling a personal brand. So if we're talking to people, undergraduates finishing courses and thinking about getting into the world of work, you really want to work on that before you need it. So I recommend that even year 2 undergraduates, should be getting on LinkedIn and setting up profiles. They should be starting to spend time on projects, like doing social media for charities or, for local sports teams, or, if you're into video, creating videos for, local companies, so that you've got something under your belt. You've got some experience there, so when you're applying for your first positions or looking for funding to set up a business, you've got something to show. You've got an approach, you've got a way of working, you've got some successes under your belt. And when I recruited into agencies, going back 10, 15, 20 years, I always hired on attitude over academic achievement. So if I had people presenting for a particular role, an entry-level role in the agency, I'd be far more interested in the stuff they were doing on the side that demonstrated they really wanted to work in marketing, as opposed to somebody who comes along and they've got a first and they've got they did some amazing stuff and they went to an amazing red brick university or whatever they did. I'd far more be likely to hire the people that show in an attitude that they really want to work on this. So that works with the graduates and the undergraduates. I think for the entrepreneurs, coming back to your original question, it's got to be about building a personal brand. So you've got to be a little bit extrovert or be prepared to act a little bit extrovert, even if you're not. You're going to need to put yourself out there, because at the end of the day, people buy people. That's why Stephen Bartlett transcends his company brands. A lot of other people. You look at Dragon's Den, you look at all of these shows, and it
Yeah.
is the individuals that stand out. And they are the physical embodiment of everything that business is all about. Richard Branson at Virgin is another one. You would trust that guy. You would go into business, you'd want to work for that guy, you'd run through a wall for that guy. And I think that's what it needs now. We need, because social media and everything else, it's personality. It's personality,
Yeah.
it's personal brand.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think let's enter the main and most important part of the interview today, which is your B2B. So, what you're doing right now, if you could explain in a nutshell, so businesses can relate
Yeah.
to something that you're doing, and if they need help, they could probably connect to you as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not exclusively in what I would call industrial and engineering and manufacturing, marketing and sectors, but I say about 90% of my work is working with SME, UK, factory-based businesses. So they could be working in aluminium and steel and providing products that are made out of those materials into anything from automotive to rail to construction and building, civil infrastructure. I could be working with plastic extruders, so they could be doing anything from food packaging and again into products that might be used in construction and things like that. Industrial coatings. I work in compressed gases, so very industrial factory-based businesses. You'd normally probably be a business that's maybe somewhere between 2 and 25 million turnover. You might have 10 to 50 people. You'll probably have a sales team. You'll probably have a site or two in the UK. You might be exporting, but curiously, you probably don't have your own marketing resource. And if you do, they're probably quite junior, or they are, the MD's wife or the MD's daughter. They kind of fell into it. Probably haven't got the strategic smarts, or probably haven't done, the level of work or the qualifications to really be able to challenge the management in that business, that they need to upskill their marketing. So I have an approach that I call the market right methodology, and it blends statistical data and all the data you can get from things like your Google Analytics and stuff like that. We can look at competitors, we can look at the market, see where that's going, and we build out a strategy for a business that makes it more likely for that business to attract the sort of clients that it wants. And my clients are typically in supply chain to people like Tesco, BP, JCB, Tata Steel, all the really big companies at the top of any of the major kind of supply chains, and they'll be providing bits and pieces of products and services into those companies. So it's about being seen and being visible and being known as the right people doing the right thing when those opportunities come around. So a lot of what I do is around websites, content, all the usual marketing communications stuff, but it's rooted in strategy and building the right assets that are going to attract the right customers.
Fantastic. Well, just the last piece.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you name or not name the customer, would you be able to give us a success story of a customer came to you with a problem in their marketing, obviously, and then you probably crafted a solution that you can describe, and then that was a good success.
So I work with an aluminium and steel company in the Midlands. They're called Sherwood Stainless and Aluminium, and they're a group business. So they've actually acquired a number of other companies around the UK. So those companies have all continued to trade under their own brands and provide their own profit and loss into the business. So they operate as a kind of 4 autonomous businesses. But what I've successfully done with them is, first of all, for the main Sherwood business that's in Wolverhampton in the West Midlands, if you go to that website, sherwoodaluminium.com, I think it is. That's a website project that I delivered for them. You'll see on there, there's loads of information about products. There's loads of information about core sectors and competency in, I think, 7 or 8 different sectors. They've got some downloads on there that can start conversations, with prospects that are interested in working with them. And it's all obviously, optimized up for everything. I worked with the CEO there and got him speaking opportunities at the UK Metals Expo in NEC, which takes place every year. We got some press around the fact that they installed a load of solar panels into the business, so they brought their energy bill right down and obviously could pass savings onto the business. But actually one of the businesses that they acquired in Manchester called Inal, so you spell that INAL, and I produced a thing called a buyer's guide for them. So it's a download, and it helps people who might be looking to change supplier or to buy this thing called aluminium extrusion for the first time. It's an education piece, and it helps people to understand what they should be thinking about if they're evaluating different providers in the market, because we know every website and every bit of social media and every email and press release, it's all an advert, right? So buyer's guides is something that I created as a way to give objective information to interested prospects about the things they should be thinking about when they're looking to engage a particular supplier. And I have a belief that every business in the world should have one of these available from their website. So, I've got something similar. If you want to hire a marketing consultant, these are the things you should think about when you're evaluating one from the other. You could probably do something similar with, course provision and, the digital apprentice side of things as well. So this particular guide for this particular company within the Sherwood family, I think they spent about £3,000 or £4,000 on it, to get the thing written, designed, hung on the website and promoted. It's returned probably £2 million worth of business over the last 2 years. So it starts conversations. So good marketing starts conversations. It piques interest. And that's what marketing is about, right? Corporate B2B marketing is about starting conversations and helping customers make good decisions, and hopefully they're the decisions to work with us over anybody else. So that's probably one of the things I do, for most of the clients I start to work with, is we produce something like that we can, drop into the market and it have some immediate impact.
Fantastic. I think it was an amazing conversation for different audiences. And I think the last bit was really the juice of the entire session, entire interview. And if we can just take that away, and that itself is, a fantastic takeaway for the session. Marketing is all about a conversation, having a good conversation, and it piques the buyer's interest. So fantastic. I think well summarized. And I think there is a lot to go deeper when it comes to marketing. But that's all the time we have today. And maybe let's keep the curiosity of the audience there, and probably have another session to talk on different topics, and probably those who are interested could contact you directly. And what I would say is begin the conversation.
Absolutely. I'm very easy to find. I named my business Rene Power Marketing there, so it's got my name in it. If you Google my name, you'll pick up most of the social media channels. I think LinkedIn is probably the one for me. I'm active on there every day, so I'm always posting tips. I do a weekly email newsletter. So there's a bunch of things. If you get in touch and say hi, just mention the fact that you were on the Great People podcast, and then we can have any kind of conversation you like. But optimistic that you'll see my face and hear my voice in these parts more as we move forward. So appreciate the invitation. I hope that information helps anybody watching this right today.
Definitely. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. Thanks, Ashwin. Take care.